Welcome to episode 22 of the Orange Thumbstick Podcast, and I am pleased to say that the real host is back this week. There is no imposter. There is no Geordie fella. It is me, moi, yours truly,
Hey.
Dave Deals, back in the hosting seat. Thank you. And joining me this week is just Agrius Rage. Mr. Russ, how are you?
I'm good, cheers, Dave. Thank you very much. Yourself?
I don't think Bobby's made it this week, has he?
I don't know.
Has he made it this week? Are you there, Bob? No, he's not there. Why? Why are you in a huff?
I want my podcast back, that's all.
It's not your podcast.
My podcast, mate. I drive the bus. I drive the podcast bus.
You crashed it last week. That's all the feedback we've been getting. The bus crashed last week. I've had to come in with my spanners, repair it all. And here we are. We're back on the road.
On the road again.
On the road again, yeah. So I would just like to say, Bobby, you did a great job last week.
Shut up, Dave.
Thank you to all three listeners that tuned in because Bobby was hosting.
Stick it, Dave. Stick it.
But rest assured that the man's back. So here we go. Episode 22, as I said, thank you very much if you are already a subscriber, whether it be on Android, iTunes or YouTube. If you're not, please give us a subscribe or a like. We really do appreciate it. Few things to go through this week. We've had some new remastered, I say remastered titles. It's a bit questionable, but we've had some new titles released. We've also had some, we'll talk about that in a second. We've also had a few Xbox 360 games given the enhanced treatment on the X, and some Sea of Thieves news as well. But first of all, what have you been playing, fellas? Russ, what about you?
Usual, mate, bit of everything. Just what's jumping to mind at the minute. Bit of gravel last week, and we didn't play much of that. And I've been hammering TSW. I can't really say much more because I'm not sure on me what I'm not allowed to say. A TSW being Train Sim World.
Yes. It's an interesting one. It's originally a PC release, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody look out for that. I'm sure Russ, you'll have a preview of that soon, won't you?
Yeah, and a review. I'm reviewing it as well, mate. So
brilliant, fantastic. Bobby, what about you, mate? What have you been playing?
I'm playing a little bit of everything, but mostly Halo 5. They have a Halo 3 playlist on there on the matchmaking, so I've been hammering that. And I picked up Red Dead Redemption, Xbox 360 copy last week.
Rockstar
and
game. You picked up a Rockstar game?
Yeah. I think because I was the host of the podcast last week, a little bit of you brushed off onto us, so I had to go and buy a Rockstar game. And I actually had it years ago and I couldn't find it, so I went and picked up Red Dead Redemption, the Game of the Year edition, and I've been sitting playing that.
Wow. And it's got the Undead Nightmare included in that, is that right?
It is, yes, it is. Do you want to plug any
Yes.
more of it because it's a Rockstar game? Because you can if you want.
No, not at all. But what a stupendous bargain you got there, because it was, what, 12 quid?
12 quid it was, yeah, which I thought was pretty. I'd looked around and I could have got the standard. I don't know if the game on the storefront was the Game of the Year or not, which was 20, or I would have bought that. But I looked around and that was the cheapest I could find in any of the shops. So
I don't actually think they did the Game of the Year edition on the store. I just think they released them as separate SKUs. So you had the standard edition, and then you had the Undead Nightmare.
That's correct, because the Undead Nightmare was also released as a standalone on disc, wasn't it? And if I remember right, there was an issue where if I was playing the digital version and Bobby's playing on the disc version for Undead Nightmare, we couldn't play with each other. Was it a
That's
weird
correct.
one?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. Was it the same for the standard Red Dead as well?
I couldn't tell you that one. I just remember there being issues.
Yeah.
With the
That's interesting.
Undead Nightmare, yeah.
We'll have to try that actually, Bob, because I haven't got Undead Nightmare, but we could try it on the standard game because I've got the standard game digital, and if you've got it on disc, might give that a try.
That might be worth it. I want to try and brush up on it this year before Red Dead 2. So
Do you know what? I don't think you'll have to. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is just going to be it's a whole new game engine in it. I think if you want to brush up on it, I'd play some GTA 5 maybe. It's going to be closer to that than it is Red Dead 1. But a great game all the same, and I'm sure you'll enjoy playing through that. It looks great on the Xbox One as well. It increases a few little texture maps and things on there, which is nice, and the frame rate's more stable as well. That goes for standard Xbox One as well as the X, so that's all good. I've been playing Turok 1 and 2 that are apparently remastered.
Now, I heard you loved it, Dave.
Well, listen to this, right? When I don't know whether you was chatting at the time, but me and Russ we were going through what was coming, and in terms of like reviews and whatever. And when we were both surprised, weren't we, Russ, that Turok was getting a release, because it literally came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It was rumoured
and I've got
before then, but when it landed in my inbox, I was like,
yeah. And I've got fond memories of the original Turok on the N64. I think the N64 is probably the only Nintendo console I've probably owned. I never had a SNES. I was more of a Mega Drive man. But the N64 I quite liked, and Turok 1 and Turok 2 were a couple of the games that really stood out on that machine. Obviously GoldenEye was another one. But Turok offered a little bit of a different experience to GoldenEye. And it was just as good in many ways, in my opinion. So I was looking forward to this. I thought, remastered, brilliant. It's going to have loads of updated stuff. This is going to be really good. And I put it on, and I was just... Anybody that's read my reviews that are on the site will just know by my reviews that I was so underwhelmed by them. And I want to talk about this because it's such... We hear the word remastered being thrown around everywhere all the time. We spoke about it briefly last week with Burnout Paradise, and sometimes I think a remaster's not warranted. I don't think certain games should be remastered, but games like Turok, old games, I think quite rightly so, should be done. But if they're going to be done right. Now, Russ, you've played both of these. What was your impression before I start my rant of disgust? What did you think of them, honestly?
The visuals was like, whoa. For me, I definitely noticed the solid performance to do with the frames and the fluid of the movements and all that.
Yeah.
But as me and Bobby discussed, you got to look at a remaster. The one that I don't know, it had its issues at launch, but the Halo remastered series, you could play the original one and it was new graphics, and you'd press the view button, it'd switch back to the original graphics. There's a sort of standard there, isn't there? I think that's what you're going to lead on into now, I believe. Yeah,
and upon playing these two games, that was the first thing that popped into my head was, this is nothing like the Master Chief Collection and what they did with that. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's probably a bigger budget. I don't think Acclaim are around anymore, although they're still classed as the publishers on this title. But to me, a remaster is everything to do with that game code turned up to the maximum. Everything to do with that game code has been adjusted to get as close as possible to optimum performance on current gen machines. Now, Halo Master Chief Collection is a perfect example of that, and to a point, the Xbox 360 backwards compatible version of Halo 3, because the game code in that had all the assets in already, because it's enhanced for the Xbox One X, I believe. So in terms of that, when you look at the work that's gone into the Master Chief Collection, and then you look at Turok, I mean, I said it in my review, it looks like one big giant bowl of chunky muddy soup.
Mm-hmm. All
they've done is they've just got the resolution and bumped it all the way up. Yes, the frame rate was smooth as anything. It was smooth as butter, and it played pretty damn well from that point of view. Yes, the control scheme is dated, the gameplay in general is dated, but nothing had changed in that release. They'd put it widescreen, bumped up the resolution and the frame rate, and gone, there you go, give us £16 for that.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it. I think remasters need to be what they say they are, and
would you have
it just bugs me
that if they'd have bundled the two together for, let's say, £20 instead of £30 for the two as it is now, would that took some of the sting out of the tail for you?
Yeah, and I actually made a point of putting that in my Turok 2 review, because the Turok 2 review was a little bit delayed because it's got an online aspect to it, and the servers weren't live until release. But I went into that multiplayer sort of thinking, this is adding a little bit of extra value towards the price and whatever. But when I put everything together and I was writing that review, it's in there. I've written it. I've put that if they'd have bundled the two together for about 20 quid, it probably would have softened that blow, and it probably would have give them both a better score in terms of their value for money. In that respect, it would have got a better score in that department.
Yeah.
Obviously, bumping up the overall score. But to charge 16 quid each, that's 32 quid for two very, very lazy ports. It's not right, I don't think. It's right up there with Battlefront 2, bloody microtransactions as far as I'm concerned. And anybody that wants to know where I'm coming from with this, all you need to do is go onto YouTube. There are hundreds of thousands of comparison videos, and you tell me if you can see any difference other than frame rate, resolution, and a little bit more draw distance, and tell me if you think that warrants a remastered tag. If you do, and you can justify it, I'll hold my hands up. But I'm sure you'll agree with me and say that is just... It's lazy development and it's a cash cow as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
As we talked about the Halo games and how you could jump between the remastered version and the original, what you said a bit earlier, budget might have been bigger. But another game that done that was Monkey Island on the 360. First and second
That's
Monkey
right.
Island games, they done it.
Yeah, that's right.
And they wouldn't have had a big budget, so if they can do it, I'm sure Turok could have.
Wonder Boy did it as well.
They kind of did, though, because it was Telltale, though, wasn't it, that did those remasters?
They did a fantastic job as well. I just want to put that out there.
They did but that is, this is what I'm talking about though, Bob. That is what you call a remaster. Everything in that game code was turned up to the maximum. It was optimized for, at the time, the 360, and everything just looked great. Whereas Turok, if they had a button to go back to the normal thing, all that would happen is you'd get two black borders on the right and left hand side. That's all that would happen.
Was the audio changed? Because I'll be honest, I never read the review because I knew we were going to talk about it in this. So has the audio been changed at all?
I don't read your reviews. Last week you said, didn't you, Russ? I read all your reviews.
I do, but I
review.
purposely didn't. Because one, I was in hope for you for being so salty about us being the best host of the podcast, and two, I knew we were going to talk about it, and I'd rather be raw, so I waited.
Okay.
After we record this. Is the audio the same?
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's pathetic.
Yeah. It's got you're climbing up a ladder and all you can hear is I don't know whether he's having a poo or whether he's throwing up, to be honest. But it's little things like that really bugged me about it, because it's a great, don't get me wrong, Turok 1 and Turok 2 are great games. They are really, really good games. And they've just gone, well, there you go. There's a bump of resolution for you. Give us 16 quid. Not good enough. And as I said before, if they had a comparison where you could press the button and go back, you'd just have those borders left and right, because there's nothing else really that's changed. The visuals are muddy.
Yeah.
The ladders still look like pieces of paper. Number 2 probably had better animations, but it did back in the day anyway. It was a bit of a step up in the visuals department, but what I'm trying to get at with this is, if anyone's going to put a remaster out there, they need to follow suit of do everything. Follow the Master Chief Collection. Yes, it had its flaws online, but my God, they did a great job. The Monkey Island series, they did a great job. And there's other games that have been remastered since that they look far, far better. And this is going to lead me into the next thing now, which is the 4 new 360 games that have been enhanced for the X. So we've got The Witcher 2, Crackdown, which has just become backwards compatible as well, and Fable Anniversary, and the original Forza Horizon. What they've done is they've basically, all the original assets that were in the game, Microsoft have got something clever going on with the Scorpio engine within the X, and what they can do is they can kind of open up, using an emulator, the original assets in the game, so they don't mess with the game code. They just basically release and unlock those settings that were originally there. And I've got to say, I've only tried Crackdown and Forza Horizon, and they both look fantastic. They look really good. Forza Horizon in 4K just looks really, really good. It's on a par with number 2. It's nowhere near, the lighting's nowhere near as good, but it looks really, really nice in 4K. But what I wanted to lead with this is, do you think that this is going to be an ongoing thing with Microsoft now, with their backwards compatibility, or do you think they're doing this for another reason? E3, maybe?
I hope it's an ongoing thing. I would like to hope it is.
What about you, Russ? Do you think this is a new plan that they've maybe got going forward?
I don't know. They're obviously listening. People wanted it. You know, the backwards compatibility program has been successful anyway, so why not go that next step and make them X enhance as well, where possible? So it's only logical, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they've got the capabilities there, they should do it. But I don't like this whole fanboy thing that goes on, but I want to highlight this because I think this is where, you know, Xbox are probably leading the industry with this. PlayStation recently announced that on their PlayStation Plus subscription, which has just increased in price, I believe it's $49.99 now for 12 months. On their free titles that they give as part of that subscription, they are actually taking out PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita titles, so they're no longer giving those away. So basically you're getting 2 PlayStation 4 games included in your subscription.
Okay.
Whereas Microsoft are obviously giving 2 Xbox One games and 2 Xbox 360 games.
Yep.
Now, do you think that Xbox are using this to their advantage and releasing these enhanced versions of the 360 games? Because when you look at the models now, because of the emulator that Xbox are using, they're gaining momentum because they've got that backwards compatibility option. PlayStation haven't with the 4. So how do you think that's going to affect things going forward in terms of the PlayStation 5 and maybe the next Xbox?
The PlayStation 5 would obviously need to up its game drastically to kind of catch up to what Microsoft are doing. I am a little bit concerned as to where Microsoft are going to go next. Obviously, this isn't end game, this console, by any means. I hope that... Obviously, they've said that they've kept things recently in the Xbox family. The Xbox One family, sorry. With the Xbox One, the One S, and the One X. I'm hoping that the next one they bring out, they keep in the same family. All the people who've spent a fortune on games, like I can look at my shelf at the side, and at the time for retail, there's easily £1,000 worth of 360 games sitting there from when I bought them, and I would like to keep being able to play them if I ever wanted to. Obviously nowadays you'd be able to get them for pennies, but still the money's being invested into it, and I would like Xbox to keep going the way they're going and be able to play the backwards compat. I've got some original Xbox games sitting there, and I'm waiting for them to come on the list so I can try them out on my One X. I do think it's fantastic what they're doing. I also think PlayStation are just following suit and trying to bandage up any wounds they might have. Moving forward, I hope that Microsoft stay the way that they're going and that it doesn't... I'm hoping that all this time that they're investing into making some of the backwards compat games compatible with the X, with the full enhancement, I'm hoping that they're not spending too much time on that in regards to we still want new IPs and things like that. I am hoping that the time is being divided.
I don't think they are, to be honest, Bob, because I think, I mean, they've already committed to the fact that they're never going to leave anybody behind. They've already said that, and that would make me assume that every console that comes out now that's got the Xbox brand is going to be backwards compatible with all previous titles, and to a point, all previous accessories up to a certain level, I suppose. But they've committed to the software side of things, and they did that at E3 last year and the year before. I don't think it's taken any time away from first parties or new IPs. Playground Games said that they were able to do the 4K HDR upgrade on Forza Horizon 3 by lunchtime. You know, that's how easy it is to do. So now I love my PlayStation 4 console sits there. It doesn't do much because I play everything on the X at the moment, but obviously with certain things coming out in the 4, it's going to get uses. But what I want in the future is I want them to come forward and almost give Microsoft a run for their money. I don't want Microsoft to get complacent with this, so I want the next PlayStation, for example, to have backwards compatibility. Because if Sony do that, Microsoft then have got to up their game, and then Sony will up theirs again. It's just good for gaming in general. But at the moment, I can't understand Sony's decision to drop those games. I don't
If
get it,
Sony
but especially...
Sorry, Dave. If Sony brought out a console that was backwards compat the same way that the Xbox is being made backwards compat through the generations, I would get the next Sony console if it done that. So many games that I played on the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 that haven't came to Xbox and probably won't, and I would love to go and play them again. So if they did do that and up the game, then I would definitely buy one.
Yeah, and I think it needs that. I think Xbox, Microsoft need that competition. I think because they're way ahead in that department. They've almost thought too far into the future, I suppose, which is a good thing. But it's just an odd decision. But Crackdown looks great. Forza Horizon looks really good. Excuse me, and Fable and Witcher 2, I'm yet to try with the enhanced update, but I'm sure they'll look great anyway. So yeah, things are looking good on the backwards compatibility side of things for the console and for Xbox in general. Sea of Thieves recently had another scale test. Did you guys jump in on that at all?
Nope.
I think I might have played one game. Oh, wait, no, this weekend we didn't. That was the other weekend, so no, didn't check anything out on it, sadly.
Okay. This is probably old news, but I've had a few messages of people just asking about Sea of Thieves and what it's going to have on the X. I've done some digging, and I found an article that was released sort of very late last year. A lot of people have been asking what resolution it's going to be on the X, etc. Sea of Thieves is going to be 94K, according to Rare, and it's not going to use any kind of checkerboarding or anything. It's going to be a native resolution. And I'll read this from the article. It says, Sea of Thieves runs at a 94K resolution on an Xbox One X. During the interview, the developers made it clear that this is a native 4K and doesn't utilise techniques like upscaling or checkerboarding found in any other games. Towards the end, they also added that the Xbox One X version is on a par with what you would find on a high-spec PC. Those with the 1080p televisions will also benefit from the upgrade because it uses higher resolution textures than the standard Xbox One version. So that's the downsampling side of things. The Xbox One version, I believe, is going to be 900p. That could change to 1080p, but it's going to look great on either machine, I think. Certainly did from what we played for Game Blast a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Really looking forward to Sea of Thieves. Mm-hmm. What do you want to see added into it, Russ? I know you're quite intrigued by this game. Is there anything that was lacking in the beta that you'd like to see added?
Again, you can't really base any real decisions on the game just from playing a beta or a scale test because it's only a tiny portion of the game you get into play. I mean, from what I've played, I would like there to be the option to say have a 6-man crew because at the minute it's only ever been 4-man crews max. There just seems to be at times, especially during like mid battles. I know it's all about being frantic, all hands on deck, and all those catchphrases you can come up with, but it does seem like you could even do with just one extra pair of hands, just to when you've got the big ships on the go because. The 2-man ships.
Imagine what we could all do with an extra pair of hands. Imagine what we could do.
When you've got just the two of you on one of the small schooner ships, whatever they are, it's quite manageable, isn't it, Bob? When you're doing the 2-man teams on the smaller boats.
Yeah, it's not bad on the 2-man team.
But when you've got a big one, especially because you need somebody at the wheel all the time because those things, the turning circle on them is ridiculous. You can't just sort of handbrake turn it at the drop of a hat. We're dropping the anchor and that doesn't work so well on the big ship, so as we saw last weekend.
Well, to be honest with you, you two carried me throughout that because I didn't have a Scooby while I was doing. I really didn't.
Things like raids I can see being a thing. I know there's mention somewhere online about there'll be a notification like server-wide that an event's going off to try and draw everybody to it. So there would be a mass battle and stuff like that. Maybe the possibility to have an alliance with another ship sort of team up to create sort of armadas and stuff, if that's possible, without spoiling the fun of the game too much.
Yeah. Do you think they'll introduce bounties for certain players?
It could do. I mean, I got it straight away in my head there was the bounty system on Grand Theft Auto when you said that. So you perform wrong actions all the time in GTA, you get a bounty, don't you? So quite often it's always for stealing cars out and about on the streets. Other players can put a bounty on your head. But say if it went off of that, you're quite notoriously stealing stuff, or your treasure haul is quite big. I'm sure the game will know that you've not cashed in 20, 30 chests on your ship. Maybe it could flag up there's a ship out there that's got a huge haul of treasure. Go and find it.
Yeah.
Little things like that. It'd be cool. More interactivity sort of things like that would be really good with the game. Yeah, definitely.
They could make that almost like a weekly event. Have a bounty on somebody that like you say is sort of boarding 20, 30 chests, and you've just got this game where you've got 30 or 40 ships just going after this one. It's hidden somewhere. There's special maps somewhere. There's special clues and whatever else. That'd be really good.
Or even
really good.
Being able to bury your treasure and set a challenge to the community. Draw your own little map or something, or just write like one of the riddle style
that'd
things.
Be great.
That sort of stuff would be really good.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, I mean, Sea of Thieves it's released on the 20th of March, I believe, and it's going to be coming to Game Pass day one, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of players on that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And do you know what? I've just realised I haven't said fantastic once this week.
Bobby's gutted.
Well, he said it so much for me last week, I don't think there's any need to this week, to be honest. Every other time it was fantastic. Are you still there, Bob? Or have you fallen asleep?
Yeah, I'm still here.
There he is. I was just saying to Russ that I haven't said fantastic once this week.
I've been listening for it.
I know you have, but you've said it enough for me last week, so I haven't felt the urge to. But the show's not over yet. Anyway, I want to know what you want for Sea of Thieves. What do you want to see added? Have you got any things that you've played in the beta and the scale test that you like, but you'd want to see sort of expanded on maybe, or what do you want to see in the game?
I agree with a lot of what Russ said. Like the extra set of hands would be perfect. Even on the I think it was the schooner you said they called Russ, where it's a 2-man crew. If you could have a 3-man crew on that size ship, you could dominate. Simply because when you're battling, you need 1 to 2 people on the cannons at all times. One person needs to be steering, but the people on the cannons, you could always have one come off to change the sail to keep the speed up and do what we call a handbrake turn by dropping the anchor and turning around really quick. So something like that, especially on the 4-man crew, the 4-man ship, if you could have 6 on that, you would absolutely dominate the seas. So yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to see. I would like to see more weapons. All I've seen is like their variant of a shotgun. I can't for the life of us remember the name of it. Blunderbuss. It's that big rifle with the big... That's the one, blunderbuss. You've got a pistol, you've got a sniper rifle and a sword. I did notice the different skins you can buy for them. I would like to see them have some sort of effect rather than just a skin. Something like, I don't know, the nicer looking gun has more damage or something like that.
You have to be careful with that sort of stuff, because
true.
You get somebody that sits and plays it, hammers it. Those that come on just for the weekend ain't going to enjoy it, are they? They ain't going to be able to kill anybody.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
I'd also like to see. I know that they're going to bring some sort of upgrades on the ship out. I'm intrigued to see what that is, because every time you've went up to the person that's going to be doing it, the character in game, it always says check out the other sellers and come back. There's also someone that what did we find again? We found something you had to sell it to that soul person, but they turned it off.
Oh, those skulls, yeah, because we did it was the first scale test, wasn't it? And we found it was a riddle map, but it was more of like a wanted poster, and it was characters based
3 captains, wasn't it?
Yeah, based on Microsoft staff. So there was you heard of Shannon Loftis, like the head of Microsoft Studios. There was one based on
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
And I can't remember the other two. I do apologise if they do ever listen to this. But yeah, we had to go and...
Mr. Booty was in there.
And it was a little... Same as going to find a treasure, you know, go here, walk 6 paces from this spot. And there's a little wave thing going off. So skeletons were spawning with swords to start with. Then they'd have pistols after that. And then the blunderbuss, and then there'd be a mixture of swords and pistols, and then so on and so on till these captains spawned. And then when you killed them, they dropped skulls, like mythical skulls. And there was, because we got 3, didn't we, in total? There was a gold one and 2 silver ones.
Yes.
But we couldn't do anything with them. But we'd heard rumours that there was offline, while the scale test was offline, there was still some people playing it, like the proper insiders for it, and they were saying there was some magical person you could go and sell them to for spells and stuff or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be a hell of a lot of surprises when the game releases.
The
Do you
Kraken
really want to
fight
see?
will
I'd
be
seen someone
ace.
tweet this.
I'm
hoping that what Russ said with teaming up.
Some more, because you obviously got the storm that's floating around the map, and if you get caught in that, then geez, that thing's a beast, especially on a big ship. But some, like a maelstrom.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a maelstrom appear as like a random event.
Yeah.
You know, sort of Pirates of the Caribbean style way. Imagine that actually as a little sort of arena fight, 2 ships locked together either side of a maelstrom, and you just shooting each other and stuff, just as a little side game, maybe a mini game they could introduce to it rather than just being all open world. Oh, we could talk for days about it.
And you'd have to have the whole crew. You'd have to have the whole crew sort of there trying to stop you from going inside it and things. And you know, yeah.
I did see on Twitter that someone had tweeted them saying, "Bring Guybrush Threepwood in as an Easter egg."
That was me. I sent that tweet.
Was it you that done it?
Yeah, it was me. I sent it over.
That's where I seen it. If they put Guybrush Threepwood in or any kind of Monkey Island Easter egg, I would completely lose my word. I would lose it. It would be absolutely fantastic.
There we go. There it is. The big F-bomb. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I just think there's going to be a lot of surprises and a lot of game modes that they've got up their sleeve. And there's a lot of people looking forward to it. So, yeah, it's out in a couple of weeks. Can't wait for that. Okay. Bobby?
Yes, Dave?
You know what time it is?
Time is it, Dave?
It's time for Bobby Fails presents Something for the Weekend.
So this week in Something for the Weekend, we're going to take a look at Switch or Die Trying. It was released on the 28th of February 2018, priced at £5.59, which is $6.99 and €6.99. You play as a character who is the letter I. He's lost all of his friends, who are basically the other 25 letters of the English alphabet, and you're going to have to help him find them by completing 75 highly challenging levels. You can switch between a little I and a large I, being a capital and one that isn't a capital, and you have to jump up through platforms, and on some levels, when you switch between characters, the platforms change as well where you can land. It is extremely difficult. I've done a preview video on it, and it took a lot to not swear. There's probably 2 or 3 edits in it as well where I died about 50 million times. But it's really enjoyable. It's one of them games that gets your competitive edge going, and you just want to get through the level and go back to it. So yeah, nice little, not even that expensive, nice little cheap game to pick up for the weekend.
Brilliant, Bobby. Thank you very much for your insightful, descriptive
Can I just also say
analysis.
It's lowercase I, not little I.
I know. I got lost in the moment. Usually I make notes every week, and this week I was just like, I'm going to wing it, because I winged last week when I was host, because I just knew what I wanted to say, and I was like, I'm going to wing it.
You play as a curly cut and a kicking cut.
A kicking cut. I was worried about saying...
I reckon that would be Bobby's like native name, you know, like Native American, like Little I.
Would you be Big Eye?
Well, Depends how excited I got.
Hey.
I was really worried about saying I because apparently with Geordies, A, and I all sound the same. So I was a little bit worried about saying that on the podcast.
Did you just say I then?
Basically, I.
Bless you. Bless you, Geordie Cotton Socks. Right then, Russ, plugin of the website, social media and video channels.
Yep, don't forget to head over to our website, xboxgamerreviews.com, for all the latest news, reviews and giveaways. We also had a little tickle of the paintbrush and give it a little facelift this past couple of days, so go and check it out. You can also follow us on Twitter at Xbox_GR, Facebook.com/Xbox Gamer Reviews, and of course our YouTube channel for all our latest preview videos. That is YouTube.com/Xbox Gamer Reviews.com.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm going to change now. I'm not using fantastic. I'm going to use a Matt
You have
Hardy
to use
wonderful.
You have to use fantastic. You have to use fantastic.
Wonderful.
It's the catchphrase of the podcast.
No, I'm not
Have
using
to do
it anymore. You infringe copyright, so I'm going to go to wonderful. Wonderful. There you go.
Broken Dave
the new
Deals.
You say
Broken Dave Deals. That's it. Yeah.
will you at least say and we'll see you soon at the ending?
No, he's not allowed.
No, never going to do that. Never going to do that. It's trademarked. Right, we're off.
Fantastic.
We're all going to eat a massive bowl of chunky muddy soup. We'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you later.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.